G'day, it's your old mate Matthew here from the Yarnsman podcast. Today we have Matt Wood on the podcast. We get into a few things here, really the psychology of security. We do touch on suicide and some other mental health conditions. So if you find any of that triggering, please feel free to step out or check our website for support resources. Hope you enjoy the yarn. Hello and welcome to the Yarnsman podcast. This afternoon we've got Matt Wood here. Matt is a husband, father, a security expert even. Well, you are an export actually, because that'll work.
Yeah, true, it can work. Yeah, a British security agent working over now in New Zealand. So yeah, an export expert. But yeah,
That'll do. How are you?
yeah, I'm great. No, thanks for inviting me on. It's it's great to read about what you do and really thrilled to be a part of this and to tell a few stories and have a few yarns.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. We'll jump into it. What have you struggled with in the last week?
Oh, last few weeks, I guess, has been routine. I love my routines. It's always been a huge part of my life and regimenting my brain and what have you. But I just moved house. First time in 17 years since I emigrated out here from the UK. 17 years ago. It's the first time I've moved house. I've moved myself, my wife, my two kids, my two able-bodied dogs, my disabled dog and my ancient cat I flew over from the UK. So trying to get everyone settled into a new house, into new routines when school holidays were on, and then these flus and bugs that have been going around and everything. So it's just a bit of routine really, getting back my life into order, which I enjoy and I love.
I mean, like your animals, have you sort of been doing some treading? Have you found your comfortable place in the new house?
Yeah, it's almost punched a few holes in a few walls trying to find light switches in the dark. But no, it's great. My wife's been funny with her routines as well. Now she's got a routine of how she likes to clean the house, and now it's house fast. She has to vacuum before the vacuum runs out, and all those silly little quirky things when you move into a new place. But no, it's been great. Now we're already settled, and it's really cool. I think when we talk about sort of some of the other questions later on, it sort of all ties into why we've moved into this new house and started this new chapter of life. So, but it's been a bit of a struggle, but it's been we're there.
Cool. Looking ahead to next week, what's something you'd like to work on?
I guess same thing. It's routine now, so get everything back on the same page. Okay, so home life, boom, box ticked, sorted out. Everyone's happy, settled in now. So it's work as well. Getting that work-life balance and getting that back into gear so that I can focus on my team and make sure they're happy and they're all settled in their lives, in work and at home as well, because that's a really key thing for us is work-life balance. So making sure that my team are focused and back on the wagon as well.
Cool. What are you proud of?
Oh, loads of things really. I'm one of those guys that's very hardwired, especially in the security industry, to look for the negatives, right? It's a lot of our work is last minute and it's dealing with problems and sometimes quite some high-end problems and high-end problematic people. So, you kind of get hardwired to look for the negative. But, what am I, just proud of of my guys here in the office, proud of my people at home. Pride is one of our core values of our business. As you can see up in the wall behind us, number one is pride.
Well, and there's a line beside that. You've probably also got a 3 lions tattoo, do you?
Oh, no. I'm more of a red rose than a 3 lions, mate, to be honest. I'm more oval ball than round ball. But look, pride's really important for me and to make sure I'm proud of things. And as I mentioned to you last time we had a chat, that before I leave my office every day, I have to write down the 5 things I'm most proud about that I've achieved at work. Just so I leave work in a really positive mindset, and then before I get out of my car, before I even go through my gate at home, I have to look at those 5 things that I'm proud of again. So when I'm walking through the door, I'm in a positive mindset to see my wife and my kids, and I've got 5 cool yarns, to talk to my family about. When they say, "How's your day, Dad?" I've got 5 cool things at the forefront of my brain that I'm really proud of and I can talk about. So what am I most proud of at the moment? I guess just getting up for another day, getting through another day, and just loving life and loving what I'm doing.
Cool, I like that. And just for the benefit of everyone else, you also make your team require your team to do the 5 things that?
Yeah, the high five. Yeah, the team high five. Some of them find it a bit quirky and a bit painful, but once you understand the reason behind it, and the reason for the positivity attracts positivity, and you might be walking home and you don't know what your family have experienced for the day, but if at least you can come through the door with positivity beaming, then it's going to attract that out of them. So they might have had a bad day, but they can see you positive. It lifts them again. So my team have got to leave here with a high five. Whether they scrumple it up and throw it out the car door window before they go, I don't know. But they know the concept's there and they know why it's so important to themselves and their families as well.
Yeah, I probably should implement that in my household too. But no, I love that. What gives you hope?
Just every day, just getting up every day. I got some pretty awesome mentors in my life. One of them stares at me in the office, and he stares at me at my home office. It's my great-grandfather, who was a colonel in the British military. He was captured in Hong Kong in 1941 by the Japanese, and he tried to organise a mass escape from the prisoner of war camp. Was betrayed just beforehand, and was tortured incessantly for 4 months at the hands of his captors, and eventually refused to give up any information and was ended up dragged out and shot. And life gives me hope. He had his taken away from him early. I got a 1 in 14 trillion chance of being on this planet, so it's pretty special. So just getting through another day, inspiring other people through what I've experienced and what I've learned through my life. That's what gives me hope, really. That there's people out there I can help. And I think I remember talking to you about those. I gave a talk on mental health and resilience, and that weekend I met somebody who listened to my lecture, realised he wasn't in a good space and was at the same relaxation retreat I'd gone to with my family, and it was him turning his life around. So knowing I can influence or assist other people in their lives is what gives me hope, really.
Wow. Wow, it's exactly the same sort of reaction to when we first had a yarn. I mean, that might be the best and most complex answer I've had to that date. You've got that daily reminder, there of your grandfather, and you've showed me the photo and thing. I just think that's such a special story, and it's amazing to have that to go on, and then bringing it into present tense of the work and the yarns you're out spinning, supporting and enabling people. So I absolutely love that, man. Good on you.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's been a journey the last 47 plus years, but a lot of learnings, and if you can't feed back those learnings to help benefit other people, then why are we here? What are we doing? It's a big old world out there, and there's lots of people struggling and finding difficult times, and if I can help just one person a day, then that's something else I'm really proud of every single day.
Well, we've got the opportunity here to share some yarns and lessons. Where do you want to kick off, man?
Oh, look, it's when we sat down last time. I've had a journey, and started off very young, OCD as a child, and that came with its own issues and complications, and knocked back a lot of confidence, led to a lot of bullying. And managed to get through that hurdle. Lost a kind of brother figure to suicide when I was 15, so that was a year after I got sort of my OCD taken care of, when I sought some help. And then later on in life I get diagnosed with ADHD, which off the back of a PTSD moment that I had in my life, I got sent away for a bit of help and assistance, and they thought, we better get you tested for ADHD, and having that diagnosis and the support I've been given from that, both psychologically and pharmacology wise, has been just a life changer for me. Absolute life changer. It's allowed me to sort of clear the mist, the fog, and just get a better perspective on life, really. So it's been a journey, and all through that's become learnings, and having these psychological sort of hurdles, let's call them, in my life has put me in front of a lot of great people who've given me a lot of great support and inspired me to go away and study. So I'm studying cognitive behavioural therapy at the moment. I'm studying human behavioural science. I'm studying addiction therapy, all because I know that Cantabrians and New Zealanders and people worldwide in the last few years have gone through a lot of mental strain, a lot of mental stress, and it's impacting them where they're not able to come back on the resilience curve, come back to a level of normality before they get hit again with something else. And people are at the straw that breaks the camel's back at the moment. And there's a lot of people who are silently, and I think that's the sad word, silently crying out for help. They're wanting it, but they just, I don't know, either feel weak or feel, so especially men, in the stigma of, we should be able to cope, especially when you go sort of my background and the British upper middle class background of, toughen up, buttercup, you just got to get on and deal with it. So it's, I've been really fortunate to have, through my own sort of dramas and what have you, have met some pretty cool people and learned some pretty cool things. And yeah, it's just awesome to be able to feed that back in whatever capacity I can do, whether it's professional or just through social media or having these yarns. It's just really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot there. You've got a number of bloody acronyms and diagnosed there. That must be hard to get your head around. Do you? I mean, there's a big thing around diagnosis or tendencies, and being comfortable with labels or whatever. Do you see yourself? How do you see yourself with those labels or with those tendencies?
Yeah, I mean, I guess back in the day, and we're only talking 60 years ago, the mental health continuum was well, unwell. That was it. You were on one side of the seesaw, and the treatment was pretty harsh if you were unwell. I think we've been reading a lot about it in the media at the moment, with abuse in care and what have you has been going through. And I know people have been caught up with that that I've met over here in New Zealand and how they're coping with it all. But I guess once you understand that mental health is no different from any kind of injury or any other kind of health condition, that you get an injury, you get given the tools to get better. To get through your injury, you tear your hamstring, it's rest, ice compression, elevation, right? You get a mental health injury, you go through a trauma or what have you. There's ways to get through it. So I guess that stigma is becoming less and less. When I first got my diagnosis for both of my, I'm not going to call it a condition, both of my
tendencies,
my learnings.
Yeah.
There was a shock because it was still in the infancy of understanding the brain and mental health. But I guess, knowing there is a continuum, having met so many people, having, other people, understanding in the time that I've had my diagnosis, that they've got a similar diagnosis, it's a very common thing. It's not it doesn't have to be a big thing. It just has to be how you choose to live and deal with it, much like any kind of injury or ailment or medical condition, really. So, yeah, it bothered me at first, but then you take a step back, you take a deep breath, and you go, actually, you see a lot of people out there who've got similar conditions who are doing bloody well for themselves. And you read about all the people in the past, in history, who probably should have been diagnosed with conditions that have done some pretty incredible things.
You mentioned the resilience curve, and we kind of talked about that the other day. You've had a lot going on in your life, and sort of, I'll say, highs and lows on the curve. How have you managed that, or how have you kind of picked yourself back up to rebuild again?
One of the key things I have is we've talked about earlier is that picture of my great grandfather. When anything has ever got tough for me in life, nothing it compares to 4 months of insane torture, starvation, and mental and physical torture. And I think for me, understanding that, I go through tough times, but to take a step back and go, there's a lot of people out there with really, really tough times, far worse than mine. And just then going back to the coping mechanisms, going back to understanding that I'm triggered back into my amygdala part of my brain, and I just need to refocus back into the frontal cortex, which in essence is what my medication does. For me anyway, that's its primary function. So it's just understanding that the coping mechanisms are there, and just to utilise those coping mechanisms. Is it a beer with a mate? Is it a coffee and a chat? Is it my medication is it? What is it that I need to, do I need to do? Do I need to take a deep breath? Do I need to bring my temperature down? Is it progressive muscle relaxation? Is it to take a hot, cold shower? There are mechanisms out there. I just have to step out of that red mist, that fog, and just go for one of those mechanisms to help myself get back on the even keel again.
And there's a number of different things you've listed there. How do you know which one you need? Is it do you go? It's different chapters of life, different phases of life. Things work better at other times.
Yeah, I mean, number one, first and foremost, is a deep breath. As soon as you can oxygenate your body, that starts. I mean, physiologically, I could go into the whole concept behind the psychological sigh and how it's so beneficial.
Because we talked about that. Please enlighten.
Yeah, so the psychological sigh is a very powerful tool in calming the mind, calming the amygdala, allowing for rational thought, which is frontal cortex. And it's a deep breath in, and at the top of your breath is another short, sharp breath. And the reason for that is it causes the diaphragm to expand even further, lungs to expand, the diaphragm to push up, which forces the heart to compress and become a little bit smaller. So it just restricts the blood flow just a little bit, so slows the amount of blood going down, which again slows the heart rate down. So it just brings that sense of calm. We know that when we get into the amygdala, fight, flight, freeze sometimes, but mostly fight or flight, the heart rate escalates dramatically, the breathing goes short and sharp to try and hyperoxygenate. So by taking this deep breath in, top of the breath, another short breath, actually allows that heart just to slow itself down and allows us to slide back into rational thought. And I remember talking to you about it. I said, have you ever done that in your life and you struggle to remember? And I said, well, when you're trying to regain your breathing after you're crying, that's your body doing the psychological sigh. And so from an infant, when they cry and they try and calm themselves down, that's what we do. So yeah, the psychological sigh, the deep breathing, but very much a slow breath out, allowing for that heart just to slow itself down just a little bit, allows you to calm down just a little bit more. So that's my go-to number one to try and de-escalate myself.
Yeah, I think that's one I'm going to try to do. I've done the kind of box breathing, was it out for 4, hold for 4, in for 4, hold. But I think that's a bit easier. You don't have to count.
Yeah, it is. But certainly getting into that mindset and because that's the biggest thing, right, is the mindset of suddenly understanding you've got to do that, but you can't get into the right mindset until you have done the breath. So it's kind of a yin-yang scenario, but it's just understanding that a deep breath can solve just an awful lot of things. And there's a lot of media talk about mindful breathing and what have you, and breath seminars and what have you, but it does go a long way. It's crucial to wind down the amygdala that way.
So thinking about some of the the work you do and here, and you've got teams of people that are can be in some, I'll say, extreme or sort of aggressive, and my words not yours, frightening situations. How do you sort of train them and get them mentally prepared for not only that situation but the kind of post event?
Yeah, it's a lot of understanding about aggressive behaviour and the nature of where aggressive behaviour is coming from, number one. Normal aggression used to come from a very cognitive place of aggression, so pre-planned aggression. So that's kind of hard. That's kind of a little bit easier to manage. If you know somebody's upset for a certain reason, doing it for a certain reason, you can sort of target that reason to try and calm it down. But as I talked about, with this inability to get back on the resilience curve, we're at the straw that breaks the camel's back. Good people are doing dumb stuff right now, and it's what we call emotional aggression. So it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. So it might be something minor that you've done, but it might be the final thing that tips somebody over the edge. So really, at the moment, with dealing with aggression and violent behaviour, a lot of it is about empathy. And we really focus very heavily on empathy. Even if somebody's behaving like a complete idiot, a complete moron towards you, you don't know what's causing that at the end of the day, that final part that's going to trip them over the edge. So it's a case of just listening to that person, active listening, letting them talk, having a conversation, rather than being old school dictatorial in security. You can't do that. Why? Because I told you. That whole bully boy attitude is gone. That's parent-child paradigm, right? And if you're a parent and you talk down to somebody like a child and they're not a child, they then want to become the parent, so they jump up here and they talk down to you, and then you get upset, so you become the parent, talk down to them, and you've got this shape which is the infinity symbol. And that's, if you keep going on like that, someone's going to break at some point. So as soon as my guys get into any conflict situation, it's listen. And we have another phrase in security: if somebody's yapping, they're not slapping. That's the way they're dealing with their emotions. They're outpouring it through words, and I'd much rather be yapped at than slapped at by somebody. So it's empathising, understanding that somebody's in a difficult place. They don't want to be in that place. If I've got a homeless person who's screaming at me because I've stopped them from shoplifting, whatever like that, I've got to understand that homeless person never was, when they were asked when they were 5 years old, they'd just gone to primary school, and the teacher said, what do you want to be when you're old? And that, and they go, I want to be some homeless man struggling to feed himself.
Yeah, right.
You can understand that's not what this person wants to be. So they might be irrational, they might be swearing, they might be insulting you, they might be really aggressive, but that's not where they want to be in life. So what can we do to help that person? We need to listen, we need to empathise, we need to deflect the blame that we're acting in a way stopping them for a certain reason. It's legislation. You can't shoplift, you can't trespass, you can't breach of the peace, you can't do this, but I didn't make up these laws, they are just the laws. And then deliver options. Hey mate, look, these are the options you've got. Either you put that thing back on the shelf and you walk out of here and you don't get arrested, or I have to detain you here and you get arrested, and then that's not a good way to go. So you choose the way out, my friend. And you give people that power back, that ascendancy, and then they actually go away from feeling a little bit of power. They've chosen their own direction out of a situation. So that's how we deal with our guards. They've just got to be human. They've got to be nice people.
What about the debrief, the calming down afterwards? I don't know if it was me, my adrenaline would be going crazy and I wouldn't be able to talk to anyone after all these things.
Look, whether you're a trained security professional, a diplomatic protection agent, or you've served in high conflict zones, whenever there's conflict, you're going to have adrenaline. It's your natural precursor to starting the heart rate to go faster, to pump blood around the body quicker, so you get more oxygenated blood to your muscles, you can explode with more energy to fight or flight. So it doesn't matter who you are. So at the end of any conflict situation, if you haven't already been breathing, which we talked about, is then just again to take that deep breath to reflect. What could I have done different? What could I have done better? Could I have made this situation better for the other person? And if the answer is, no, I couldn't have done that, great, well done. But if not, there's some learnings, and we learn one of two ways: by screwing up, by education, right? So, and as I said to all my guys, if you screw up, put your hand up and ask for help, because that's one of the ways we learn. So, just debrief at the end of every situation.
The other day you mentioned about being in post-conflict zones. And I know this probably shouldn't apply to post of life, but can you tell us what you told me about that, of being put in a house and booze involved?
Yeah, put in a house, unlimited food and booze, and just allow yourself to cut loose a little bit. So you come out of a high conflict zone and get a little bit tipsy. Put your emotions on the line. Get them out of your system. If it means that you start having a massive row with one of your colleagues, and have that row with one of those colleagues, because it's better it comes out than it stays inside. Because if it's brewing inside you, it's going to come out somehow. And if it's not through verbally, as we talked about, then the last thing we want it to come out is physically. And then later on in life, you start taking that aggression out, unbeknownst to you, just really randomly. And this happened to my eldest brother once. He was out having a few drinks with mates, and suddenly a couple of these guys just got up and just started laying into him for no reason. They ended up following home, and they ended up saying, "I'm really sorry for doing this," and have a free pot shot at him. And the reason these boys had done this is because they hadn't had de-escalation from a conflict zone. They'd just been in. They come back, they had misinterpreted something that someone had said in a conversation, and they just acted because they hadn't de-escalated. There hadn't been an opportunity. So that's a big thing for all my security guards. If you've ever been in a conflict situation, to de-escalate, to talk, to yarn. To get in front of your line manager and go, hey, this has happened, and it triggered me a little bit. I need to have a conversation about it. And so we regularly post up a mental health paradigm on our staff site saying, where are you today? Because we don't know if somebody's been triggered or escalated at home. So it's really important. And if you're going to deal with conflict, you've got to be in a good headspace. You can't be in fight or flight and try and deal with conflict, because no one's going to win that one.
There's a really interesting question I think I've got brewing here. I mean, I've probably been asking this to myself over the last wee while, and especially relationship with alcohol. I guess you see it on both fronts. But what do you think is a good way for you call it de-escalation, or having a blowout is my thing. Of you've had a lot going on. What ways do you think people can kind of have a blowout and let's call it a reset? That might be a bit more healthy. What through reset?
Yeah, turn it off, turn it on again. Yeah, there are many different ways, really. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's having people you can talk to. It's crucial. Encouraging people just to connect with loads of different people through their journey in life. And we talk about friendships being recencies in lifetime, right? And all of us, sometimes we feel that a friend has to be a friend for a lifetime, and we spend, putting too much time and effort into relationships when they don't need to be. I've got friends that I may not speak to for years on end, but I know that if I need to pick up that phone and have that yarn with that person, that they're going to be there and they're going to listen. It doesn't matter how often. So it's just, finding that circle of friends that, you've got those people around you that you can just turn to at any stage. And they don't have to be people, as I said, you regularly contact or have you. It's just knowing who are my safe people? Who are my people I can trust? And if you don't have them, then widen your circle of friends through work and play so you find these people. Because they're out there. They are out there. So you just got to keep widening your circle of friends. Keep learning off other people. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Don't have to be from the same industry. Don't have to be from the same likes or what have you. Just like-minded people who are just like you in the way you deliver your life. You live your core values in life, find those people and just surround themselves with you, and then just keep them close.
Well, and if you haven't got them coming along to a Yarnsman event or something, certainly.
Well, that's the kind of place you'll find like-minded people.
Yes.
The very fact that they're going there means they want to have a yarn with people. They want to have a chat. So, get in front of these people. Have a yarn, have a chat to a stranger. It was Anthony Bourdain. Unfortunately, he took his life. With suicide. He was one of the first things to say, go to a bar, sit down on your own, just chat to someone you've never met before for a time, because you never know. There might be somebody who might have a pearl of wisdom for you, or you might be able to share something with them that gets them off your shoulders. You just never know. Sadly for him, he never lived that value to its full potential for himself, but, get out there and find these people, and if coming to the Yarnsman is the chance, and what have you got to lose? Nothing. What have you got to gain? Potentially everything. You never know, so do it.
Oh, I love that, mate. That's just bloody fantastic. I know there's a lot of good stuff in there, and I really appreciate you coming on and making the time today.
No, absolutely, and it's been great. It's been probably a week since you sent out the cards to us sitting down and having our initial chat, to only 5 days later having this chat. So we've learned a lot about each other in just two sit downs, but it's been great, and just encourage other people to do exactly the same.
Cool. Thank you very much.